I would like to begin by thanking you for your vote of confidence, electing yours relentless, yours capitalist, as the new president of the United States of America. What would yours capitalist do if I was president of the greatest country in the world, the United States of America, for one day? Michael McLean, brassballsvideos.com. I am an ex-professional hockey coach, ex-amateur championship hockey coach, turned 8-figure entrepreneur, husband, father. You can download a free copy of my brand new book, 5 Ways to Unfuck Your Life in the Next 30 Days. It's my free gift to you. Just click on the link below. It's only 22 pages. You can read it quickly in one sitting. You can print it off, share it with your friends, your family, your employees, your queen, whoever you like. brassballsvideos.com. So I'm shooting this video on Memorial Day, Monday, here in beautiful Naples, Florida. I am out for my broken iPhone afternoon walk, and I've been thinking about this since I read a statistic earlier this week that 61.3% of Americans do not know when pressed what Memorial Day really in fact means. They know that it's a 3-day weekend. They know that it's baseball games and barbecues and beach time. But 6 out of 10 Americans in 2024 have no real idea why we celebrate Memorial Day. It's the same in Canada, where we're from. We celebrate Remembrance Day on November the 11th for our fallen heroes. And again, the majority of people just look at it as a day. They're not certain what it matters. They have, as my dad said, they're deep as a puddle. They don't have any real knowledge of what we're celebrating, who we're celebrating, and they have almost no clue why we're celebrating these American and Canadian heroes. Deep as a puddle. And of course, this is no longer taught in our schools. It's no longer taught in our colleges or our universities. So the depth of knowledge and the reason why we celebrate these important holidays is slipping each and every year. So if yours unruly was president of the United States for a day, what would I do with my 24 hours as leader of the free world? And I've given this a lot of thought over the last handful of days before I shot this broken iPhone video. And I have to first begin with a word of warning. First of all, if you have any moral, political, or religious beliefs against achieving extreme levels of wealth, freedom, control, prosperity, health, fitness, relationships, if you have any moral, religious, or political beliefs against extreme winning, I recommend a hard pass on watching this video. This video will not be your cup of whiskey. And that's perfectly okay. I am not for everybody, but this is what I would do if I was elected president of the United States. So if you are one of these anti-American, anti-capitalism, anti-freedom, anti-winning type of people, if you're a victim or if you're a whiner or one of these 2024 cupcakes, this video will not be your cup of Earl Grey. With that said, What I would like to see done immediately, I would take massive action in my one-day term. The first thing that I would do as leader of this incredible country is return it to its roots. And what I would be doing is I would be eliminating the sloth, the entitlement, and the selfishness I see in the vast majority of people today, young and old. Selfish, entitled, laziness. So what I would be doing is I would say, okay, I think the biggest mistake that has been made, one of the biggest mistakes in leadership American history, is when the military draft was repelled, was canceled in the 1970s. I understand the thinking at the time, but I believe, and I've spoken to my 90-year young father about this, who's studied American history almost his entire life, and I think that was the greatest mistake made in American history, when people no longer were obligated to serve their country for at least a short period of time. So the first thing I would do as President of the United States is I would re-implement even better than before, and my policy would be simple. Pick a door. At age 18, when you graduate from high school or you become an official adult, 18 years old, before you go to college, before you start your professional sports career, before you start your small, whatever it is, at 18 years of age, you are now going to serve your country, the United States of America, for a minimum 12 months. A minimum 12 months, 1 year. And really, the concept is simple. Regardless of who you are or who you think you are, at age 18, you pick a door. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. At age 18, you pick a door. And I would build this out as 90 days for everybody, every person. 90 days of the 12 months is basic training. And basic training to me is getting people physically fit, getting people mentally fit, emotionally fit, getting people healthy and mentally well, physically well in those first 3 months. And then, of course, the remaining 9 months of the 12-month mandatory service of your country, that would depends on, like, I would run it like a Fortune 1000 company. I would run it like Nick Saban ran the Alabama football program. I would run it, like Andy Reid runs the Kansas City Chiefs NFL football program. Like our people would have access to the greatest coaches on earth. Now, right off the bat, Michael, where are we going to get this money? Where are we going to get this money so that every single American can start serving and experiencing excellence in coaching, in education, in fitness, in health at the age of 18 while serving their country? Where's the money going to come from? My first order of business as the President of the United States would be to eliminate, to cut all foreign aid funding immediately. Every dollar, every penny, gone. No more money to the Taliban. No more money poured into Afghanistan, millions of dollars every day. No more taxpayers' money sent to the third world, the Western world, to Canada, to Australia. I don't care where. It's America first, period. America first. So all the billions and billions and even trillions of dollars that we're spending over the years fighting wars, defending, funding the Taliban, all these corrupt and evil people that we're involved with, these countries we're trying to help. All of that aid would be cut to zero. And those billions of dollars would be poured into what? The American military. Every damn dollar. Millions and millions, if not billions of dollars that's wasted in foreign aid is now going to be put back into the America First Military Excellence Program. And it is more than military. It's about personal excellence. It's about developing young people ages 18, 19, and 20. It's literally a training ground for millions of young Americans to learn peak performance and to be given every opportunity under the sun to become high-performance people, to become self-responsible, to become self-reliant, to live lives of autonomy and personal sovereignty. If a young person doesn't take advantage of it, that's their problem. But literally, it would be an academy of excellence, an academy of American excellence. History would be retaught. The history of the world wars, American history, good and bad, taught accurately and correctly. Excellence in nutrition, excellence in fitness, spirituality, mental toughness, bringing in the best teachers, the best coaches, the best leaders. I mean, having the greatest leaders in American history, be brought in to speak every few months to new recruits. We're immersing millions and millions of our young people in excellence. Literally how to win. These are the keys to creating a winning life. And they have to serve their country for a minimum 12 months. Then, after a person has served, they've gone through basic training, they've served their country at one of these Academy of Excellence military camps where they learn discipline, where they learn time management, where they upgrade their education, where they learn AI, where they learn, things that they can use, entrepreneurship, where they learn to be a self-responsible, self-propelling, and self-reliant person heading into their life. So after 12 months, now it's time to pick a road. You pick 4 doors. Now the opportunity to stay in the military if you want to go. You don't have money for college. There's no handouts. There's no handouts from the government. If you want to become a lawyer or a doctor or a veterinarian or an accountant and you don't have money for college, if you commit to one of the 4 doors and remain in the military, well then what you're going to have is you're going to have a situation where your education is going to be sponsored. Your education is going to be sponsored. So it's like being a Division I athlete where you can get your education paid for, your books, your tuition, your food, your housing. You can get all this paid for long as you're serving your country for the next X number of years. So with that said, it's just the person then can make that decision. Okay, I want to go to university. I want to go to college. I don't have any money. Here's an open door opportunity for me. So what you do then is college isn't for a lot of people. University isn't for a lot of people. So if you choose not to walk through that door, that's perfectly okay as well. A lot of people love the trades, and I think the trades, especially trades that are AI, protected, are a great way for young people to go. So if a person says, after they've done their 12 months in the military, they're like, well, I'd like to be an electrician, or I would like to be a plumber, or I would like to, I'd like to have a trade. That's something I would like to do, a blue-collar trade. Well, then, once again, that's something that can be sponsored through the Program of Excellence Military. If you sign a contract through the military, you can be entered into an apprentice program where you become a licensed tradesperson, regardless of what the trade is. And then the deal is, your education is paid for, your housing is paid for, you become a licensed tradesperson, and you serve your country as payment. And there could be connections too, where you end up, working trades through the military later on, or a person becomes an accountant or a lawyer or a medical person involved in military. Doesn't have to be like that, but you've got to serve, and you've got to commit yourself to graduating, and then of course you're paying nothing for free. Nothing for free. School is not an entitlement. It's not a handout. Everything is earned and deserved. So then let's say, well, a college isn't an option for you. Maybe you're not interested in the trades. Well, right off the bat, you're entering the workforce at 12 months, or you're going to be staying in the military. So there's none of this returning home to sell drugs on the street, or to pretend you're an influencer, or play video games, or smoke every day, and watch porn all day, and gamble all day, and become a fucking degenerate. None of this is going to happen. So after 12 months, you're either going to school, you're either going to trade school, you're either staying in the military as a soldier and making that career, or you've got a job waiting, a full-time job. I don't care if it's Wendy's or McDonald's, or you're going to start your own small business, but you're not going to sit around, and you're not going to become a liability to this nation. So I would put a time limit on this for accountability, where the person has 30, 60, or 90 days to be self-sufficient once they're done their 12 months in the military. If you return home and you don't go to school and you don't continue with the military, or you don't go to trade school, and you just go home and you do nothing, and you say you can't find a job, you're not going to be going on social assistance. You're not going to be living in government housing. You're not going to become a victim. You're not going to become a ward of the state. You're going to be a self-responsible, self-reliant person. And if you can't make that happen within 60 days, you are immediately re-enlisted into the military. If you're not going to do it yourself, if you're not going to choose a self-reliant life, then you're not going to sit in mommy's basement. You're not going to go to college for free. You're not going to sell drugs. You're not going to sit there and watch porn and smoke pot and become a nobody. You're going to have to come back into the military, and you're going to have to earn your keep as an American. There is no free rides. You're 19, you're 20, you're 21. There's no free rides. And also, I'm going to bring in the greatest, highest paid mental health experts, sports psychologists, doctors, you name it, so that we can put an end to this mental health, everybody unhappy, everybody depressed, everybody anxious, everybody worried, so that they can't go to school, they can't hold a job, they can't go in the military. That is 4% of the population. 4% of people who claim mental illness, 4% are clinically mentally ill. That means it's real. It's real. Bipolar, schizophrenia, you go down the list. Real mental health, not, oh, I'm unhappy, or, oh, I'm depressed because my life isn't going the way it is, or, oh, I've got a victim mentality, or I talk to myself as a loser. No, no, no. That stuff is not an excuse to skip all of this. So if a person's part of the 4% clinically mentally ill, then we're also going to have the best treatment programs because of the money. We're going to have the best hospitals. We're going to have the best resources for these people after we get them in that first 90 days of basic training. You find out immediately once you strip away alcohol, you strip away smoke, you strip away technology, you strip away digital addiction, you strip away their environment, you end up that 91% of these people that say, I'm depressed or I'm suffering from anxiety, just like in the prison system, when they don't have access to drugs, when they don't have access to phones and all this other stuff, the first month that they're in holding, all of a sudden, a lot of those lives transform. When you strip away all the things that are causing this manufactured mental illness in the first place. So when you boil it all down, you end up with 4% of these people who really need help. They genuinely have mental health issues. Now you're in a position to really help these people, to give them the best treatment and the best support that money can buy. And that's instead of them living a life on the street, becoming homeless, falling into addiction, falling into a world on the street, and the worst life imaginable. Instead, we have the money and the resources to get this 4% of the population living the best life they can. And no matter how bad the situation is, they're going to get the best care, the best treatment, and the best resources. But for the rest of these posers and actors and pretend victims, they're going to work in the military. And they're going to go to college and they're going to graduate, or they're going to go to trade school and they're going to graduate, or they're going to serve their country. There's no more free rides. There's no more snowflakes and cupcakes and victims and free this and free that. See, I just envision, here's something to envision in your mind. Could you imagine tens of millions, literally tens of millions of young Americans, then it becomes hundreds of millions over decades and decades, who have served their country at least for 1 year. Think about what that does in terms of respect for the nation, respect for history, what that does for mental health, education, for overall your economy, the ability of having self-reliant and self-responsible citizenship. Think about what that does to your country. It's the same as having a Nick Saban take over a losing football program. It's the same as any leadership. You're literally going from the outhouse to the penthouse. And it doesn't happen in a few months. It doesn't happen in a year. But over the course of decades and decades, over the next generation, 100 years, can you imagine 50 years, 75 years, 100 years of young Americans at the age of 18 serving their country for at least 12 months, going through basic training, learning about how to live a life of excellence, learning about money, learning about being a husband, learning about being a wife, learning about being a father, learning about how to manage money, how to be an entrepreneur, getting an education, getting healthy, getting fit, mindset, all just like literally like you're attending, literally like you're an employee at a Fortune 500 company or Fortune 1000 or an NFL football player would be exposed to, or an NBA player, and you're literally surrounding them with an environment of high performance people, bringing in the greatest leaders, the greatest teachers, the greatest mentors, getting people reading, getting people in the best physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual shape of their lives over those 12 months. Can you imagine the compounding effect that would have on this nation in terms of our performance as a country? Could you imagine how the division between the division that now exists would evaporate? where we would get back to the days of, like my mom and dad talk about, where everybody worked together. We worked together during World War I. We worked together during World War II. And we all work for the greater cause. And can you imagine, with everybody, tens of millions of Americans starting their young adult lives like this? They know more about the country. They know about the men and women who have served and made the ultimate sacrifice. Can you imagine what that would do to the mental toughness of our country? And here's the other thing. I taught this when I was coaching pro and amateur hockey. We would always have what was considered the physically toughest and most feared team. I never built a team that wasn't feared physically. In other words, capable of taking care of themselves on the ice. If there had to be a fight, there could be a fight. If there had to be we were physical, we would finish our checks. We would wear teams down physically and mentally. We always had that ability, and the other team knew that. The last 7 years that I coached amateur hockey, all 7 years we had the toughest, most feared team in our entire league. And all 7 years we finished with the lowest amount of penalty minutes. How is that possible? How can you have the most feared, the most dangerous, the most physically capable team in an entire league for 7 years, capable of defending themselves, taking care of themselves, literally respected and feared, and yet we had 7 years where out of 10 teams, we were always the least penalized? As my grandfather used to say, peace through strength. See, we don't have peace through strength anymore. Not in Canada, not in the United States. We have our enemies taking liberties because they know that we're weak. They know that we're vulnerable. I mean, we couldn't lick our own lips right now if the truth be known. And as far as Canada, where I come from, I mean, the only reason we're a free country is because of the United States. So we're literally helpless militarily as a country. We literally couldn't fight our way out of a wet paper bag. And our enemies know that. The Russians know that. The Chinese know that. The North Koreans know that. The Iranians know that. But this concept of peace through strength, could you imagine if 10 million Americans went through military training every single year, then another 10 million, then another 10 million, then another 10 million. And countries like China and Russia and Iran, they know that eventually every single citizen in America, same thing could happen in Canada, is capable of defending themselves and defending their country, and is capable of going to war and serving their country in an instant. There wouldn't be lawyers and accountants and white-collar people running around with not knowing what they're doing. These would be capable citizens, capable. If another world war was threatened or started, or we had to defend the American borders or the Canadian borders, you literally have an entire population of hundreds of millions of people, once you get this going through decade after decade, that literally are weaponized. Individually weaponized. They're capable, they've been trained, they know how to fight, they know how to survive, they know how to defend, they know, their expertise in one of the 4 areas of the military. They've got, are you kidding me? The majority of your country is weaponized. The majority of your country is kind, compassionate, but capable of violence, capable of going to battle, capable of winning a war. You literally wouldn't have a single issue with any of these other evil regimes. They wouldn't look sideways at America. They wouldn't look sideways at Canada. They wouldn't make one step outside of the border of what we said was supposed to happen. Because literally your entire civilization, your entire country is capable of serving at any time. And man, oh man, if that's not ultimate peace through strength, I don't know what is. Literally having an entire population of people that are capable of serving in an instant. War breaks out or human relief is needed somewhere, boom, you need millions of people, we got them. Peace through strength. That would literally lead this decision, this military of excellence decision, I believe would literally lead to as close to world peace as we've ever had. You're always going to have problems with the Middle East. You're always going to have problems with Iran. You're always going to have problems with Russia. You're always going to have problems with the Chinese. But if you want to minimize your problems and you want to put those countries on ultimate notice, you build the ultimate military machine. And you do it first and foremost to reinstall patriotism, pride in America, self-reliance, and you bring back the values and principles through this military excellence program, the things that are no longer taught in schools, no longer taught in churches, no longer whispered in sports. You bring back the founding principles and values of the founding fathers. You literally reteach how America was built, by who the founding fathers, who they were, what the goal was. Capitalism. You talk about democracy, that this is the system where, even though it's not a perfect system, a young American learns the difference between capitalism, socialism, and communism. There's only 3 states of being in the world: capitalism, socialism, and communism. And our young people, when they join the military program, learn the difference. They learn what each actually stands for and results in. And examples of capitalism with democracy, socialism, what really happens with socialism, and what happens with communism. And young people start to see and appreciate that while nothing is perfect, capitalism is what America is built on. That's why we have a democracy. And then you teach what the founding fathers wanted. What were their values? What were their principles? And you hammer home the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, and we teach the Constitution. And we bring back what I call, all of this stuff is the blocking and tackling of winning. This is what you need. This is what our young people need to know. They need to know the blocking and tackling fundamentals of America, what it means to be an American, what it means to live in a truly capitalist nation, in a democracy. What does the Constitution really mean? What does the First Amendment mean? What does the Second Amendment mean? Who were the founding fathers? What was their vision? What were their principles? What were their values? And this is the kind of brainwashing we need to bring back. We're all brainwashed. And our young people need to be brainwashed with the values and principles that made America and Canada, to a degree, the 2 greatest countries in the world. We're all brainwashed with something. In communism, you're brainwashed. In socialism, you're brainwashed. In capitalism, you're brainwashed. We just need to do a better job, and I would do a better job as president, with re-brainwashing our country with the principles and values of winning. How to become, each person to be given the opportunity to literally become the best version of themselves. That's the brainwashing I would want in all the colleges, all the schools, from kindergarten all the way through. And another thing I'll tell you right now is anybody tries to move away from winning, from self-reliance, from self-responsibility, anybody tries to lie, anybody tries to do harm, and we will immediately cut their funding. So I don't give a shit if you're Harvard or you're Princeton or you're Yale or any of these other institutions that have completely lost their moral compass. If that shit continues, I'm going to vote with my feet and my wallet. And we're going to cut all college funding to any and all schools, all university funding. And you're going to have to learn to survive like other businesses. You're going to have to learn to survive like a true company, like a true small business, like a true entrepreneur. And instead of sitting there up in the ivory tower working on your ethics and brainwashing people with all this other nonsense, I'm going to cut your funding. I'm going to kick the legs out from underneath that stool, and you're going to have to make it as a truly capitalist institution. And the way it is, we're not going to need most of these colleges. We're not going to need most of these universities. In the next decade, they're going to start disappearing. But if the funding goes, it'll just turn that up, because these aren't profitable institutions. They're not real businesses. They're now virtue signaling. They're social justice. What are they? They're social justice boot camps is what they are. These universities where you go and work on your ethics for 4 years and have the government pay for it and learn how to hate America, learn how to hate your parents, learn how to hate white people, learn how to hate other Americans, hate capitalism, hate business owners, you know, on and on. So if I see any more of that stuff, I'm just cutting all the funding. And I know in the real world that you got to have the brass balls to do this. You've got to be able to drain the swamp. Nobody's had the brass or the ability to do that. I understand some of this stuff is state and not federal decisions. But this is where it would all start. It would start by that move back to making people serve at least 1 year for their country. If you got nothing more installed than that every American and every Canadian had to serve their country for at least 1 year, and you made that military experience beyond just military. You made those camps of personal excellence, the best of the best. I mean, you're absolutely going to be weaponizing your population. You're going to be bringing back pride. You're going to be bringing back honor. You're going to be bringing back self-respect. You're going to be bringing back true freedom and accountability to your country. And you're literally going to make America relentless again. America is in trouble. Canada's in trouble. These countries are at the brink. If we don't do something dramatic to bring back pride, to bring back respect, to bring back kindness, to bring back work ethic, to bring back nobility, to bring back patriotism, we're in big trouble. We're in big trouble. So it's going to take massive action to fix this massive problem. But this is the number one thing that I would do if I was the president of the United States. And this is the thing that would make America relentless again. So you can download a book, Making Yourself More Relentless. It starts at the kitchen table. Doesn't start in the White House. It starts in our house. At the kitchen table, talking to our queen, talking to our sons and daughters, talking to our grandchildren, talking to our employees, talking about the price of freedom, talking about the men and women who have paid the ultimate price for freedom. Freedom isn't free. That's what serving your country in this program would be all about, instilling in mindset and behavior, is every day as Canadians and Americans, we're going to earn our freedom. We're going to earn our freedom because freedom isn't free. You think that's a message that young people hear nowadays? You know, 60% of the population don't even really know what Memorial Day means. Utterly unacceptable. 2 words. Utterly unacceptable. And we don't have leadership anymore. We got lousy leaders. And we need to get this country back to where we're attracting the world's greatest leaders. America's greatest leaders should be leading America. Canadians' best leaders should be leading Canada. So make sure it starts at your kitchen table. Make sure it starts at your house, not the White House. And a good start is to download my book below for free. It's my gift to you. 5 ways to unfuck your life in the next 30 days. There's nothing to buy. It's 22 pages. Print it off, study it, read it a few times, and share it with young people that need to hear this message. We're responsible for our own life. Every result in our lives, win and loss, is our fault. And that's the way we should want it. We are 100% accountability for everything that happens, good and bad, in our life. And that's what we would be installing and preaching and teaching and emphasizing in a military excellence program. And instead of fucking NFL heroes and fake NBA heroes and baseball heroes and hockey heroes, the real heroes in our country would be taught and would be emphasized would be our military heroes. The real men and women who make a difference in this world. Enough of the Hollywood actors and movies and pro athletes and all that other horse shit. Those fuckers aren't heroes. Posers and fakes and frauds. Our young people need to start looking out and being educated on what a real hero looks like. What a real hero, a mother, a father, a grandfather, a soldier. The people, the men and women who laid down their lives so that we can live in these incredible countries. So that's all I have for today. Download the free book below. I wanted to share that with you because I feel so blessed and so grateful to be welcome in America. We spend 5 months, 6 months of our year here in beautiful Southwest Florida. And it's just an incredible place to raise a family. It's an incredible place to do business. I'm proud to pay taxes. I'm proud to serve charities here. Like we never take a minute here for granted. And I thank you for welcoming me and my family in this country. And then we get to spend the rest of the year living on the lake in Canada. So we have a very blessed life that we never ever take for granted. But when I see the whining and the complaining and the sniveling and the acting and the wimp and the weak men and what's happening in our schools and what's happening in our churches and what's happening in our world, it's now time for leaders to step up and lead. And like I said, it starts in our own homes first. It starts with your example. And then it filters down from there. When the king does not rise, the kingdom dies. So make sure today that in your house, the king is always rising. You're showing up as the best version of yourself. You're violently consistent. You're positive. You speak winning. You talk about winning. You talk about freedom. You talk about the military. You talk about our farmers. You talk about our police. You talk about how great and wonderful it is in this country and how important it is now that we stand up. Because what's happening in this country in Canada is the king has not risen, right? So the kingdom has fallen. The kingdom has been falling for a while. For this all to change, the king must rise. The king must rise, or when the king does not rise, you know exactly what happens. Download my book below. I appreciate your comments below. I appreciate you sharing these videos if you think they're appropriate with other people in your world. And like my dad said the other day, my 90-year young dad, he said, the best is yet to come, son. We're living in the best time in history to be alive, 2024. We're awash in abundance, wealth, and opportunity like never before. But we've got to get our act together now. We've got to bring back pride. We got to bring back patriotism. We got to bring back kindness. We got to bring back honesty. We got to make We got to make America and Canada relentless again. The best time in history to be alive. 2 words that change my life. 2 words that can change yours. Be relentless.